You said it beautifully. You answered your own question beautifully, so I don't know what to add to that. It's true.
That's about something deeper and darker. I know that they would be proud of us.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm very excited to talk with you about this series. Javier, there has been some debate about productions like Monsters, particularly about how these stories are told, because many consider that they focus more on the side of the mothers and not so much on the victims. But what I find interesting about this series is that, in a certain way, it shows us through different perspectives that those mainly involved in the Menendez case had something monstrous, as if they were between light and darkness. And I think that's in the context of Jose, because beyond justifying him, I think that in that context of his personal story can explain his actions and his way of being with his family. But what do you think about that? What do you think makes this series different, or what extra does it add to the story of the Menendez?
Well, you said it beautifully. You answered your own question beautifully, so I don't know what to add to that. It's true. It's like creating an open the multidimension that we all are as human beings, and not to justify or excuse, but to try to understand better why. And the pain, the trauma, the mistreated people, the neglected childhood, all of those things takes place in one person, and unless that person really works hard to try to heal it in a way possible that he could, unless he or she does that, that is going to have an effect on generations to come. And this is the case. That was the case of Jose Menendez.
You tug on the leash and it hurts, but it only hurts when it disobeys.
I consider Lyle to be one of the most complex characters in this series, because they really show us him as a lost person who, despite the life of luxury he had and so on, doesn't know what to expect from life. All he seeks is to fulfill his father's wishes and expectations. And something that I find interesting about this series, and that I was discussing with Javier, is that in a certain way, it shows through different perspectives that the main people involved in the Menendez case had something. It's neither good or nor bad as such. But what do you think about it? Do you think your perspective of the story changed after playing Lyle?
When you have the gift of playing a character, your task is to remove as much judgment as you possibly can and try to empathize with those circumstances to what extent you're capable of. I think that Lyle is, of course, a multifaceted human being with a great range of different qualities, and I came to appreciate many aspects of who he is as a human being. But he has a lot of contradictory behavior as well, which make him a very enigmatic figure.
I hate my kids. May as well come out and say it.
Well, Chloe, I think that the series somehow does justice to Kitty's story, because something that I realized is that her role in this tragedy, and how it used to happen before with women, was relegated to only being the wife, mother, and victim in the case. And I like that, just like with the other characters, we also have more context about Kitty and her situation, that despite living in luxury and so on, she was trapped in a golden cage and also went through very difficult things. But I want to ask you, how was it for you to look at the Menendez case through Kitty?
I mean, I felt a lot of empathy for Kitty. I think a lot of women get caught in these cycles of abuses and don't know how to escape, or, in Kitty's case, I feel like she wanted to stand by her man regardless of what he was doing. And I think women fall into that trap, and I think she was trying to numb herself, which a lot of people do, with drugs or alcohol, and so I was just trying to, don't know, have a little dignity or bring a little dignity to this character who was, you know, a very flawed mother, which you also don't see that much of, you know, portrayed on TV or in the movies. So, yeah, I just wanted to give some dimension to her.
They're parasites, actually. They've turned us into people we don't want to be.
Cooper, I think one of the most striking moments in the series for Erik is episode 5. It's shocking how everything is centered on him, his history of abuse, and how as the story gets uglier and murkier, the camera gets closer to him. That really gave me chills, but something that surprised me was this part in the series where Erik says he doesn't know who he is. I know that the real Erik Menendez has already given his comments on the series and has a different opinion of the way he was portrayed, but as an actor and a human being, what do you think away from playing Erik in Monsters?
I learned a lot about myself too, and I think there was a point in time where I didn't know who I was either, and that was very difficult for me, and I held a lot of shame, and I wanted to hide, and it sort of was a really nice reminder that you should always feel like you can be yourself, and that when you talk about things that are difficult and when you're vulnerable, that actually makes you stronger, which was something that Erik was not told when he was growing up. He was told that talking about his feelings or crying or being vulnerable was the sign of weakness, when actually it's a sign of strength, and it just makes you a more well-rounded person and gives you self-worth and value and self-esteem.
You did this. You destroyed our family.